you'll never face anything that you can't handle. If it was too much, if it was going to stop your destiny, God wouldn't have allowed it. Like Joseph, you may be in a desert place. Life has thrown you a curve. You're dealing with things that you never saw coming, people that did you wrong, a sickness that's not improving, your business went down, you don't see how you can go on. God is about to make your hard places easier. You're going to feel a strength that you've never felt. The right people, divine connections are headed your way. God is going to get you to where you're supposed to be. The desert is not your destiny. That barren place, the disappointment, the loss is not how your story ends. The desert is temporary. The trouble is temporary. The depression, it's only temporary. Joseph ended up the prime minister of Egypt. He came out of the desert into his promised land. We don't like the desert, but the desert was necessary. Without the opposition, without the betrayals, the disappointments, Joseph would have never made it to his destiny. And God won't stop the desert. He never promised we wouldn't have difficulties, but He did promise He'll give you grass in the desert. He'll make your hard places easier. Now quit telling yourself that you can't handle it. It's too much. I'll never beat this cancer. I'll never raise these children. This pandemic is going to ruin my business. You're defeating yourself. Victory starts in our thinking. My father struggled with high blood pressure most of his life. Often the medicine he would take would make him dizzy, and from the TV area, on Sunday mornings, I would come down to put his microphone on from the TV area before the service. Many times he hadn't slept much the night before, and he didn't seem up to par, and I would ask him if he wanted to minister or did he want us to get someone else. He would never think twice. He'd say, yes, I'm ready. He would go out as strong, as anointed, as effective as ever. When he stepped into the pulpit, it was like he was a different person. You couldn't tell anything was wrong. I was so amazed. I thought, how could he do that? I realize now that was God giving him grass in the desert. You can be in a desert and God will create a green pasture. In a pandemic, you could be worried, upset, but look at you, strong, confident. You know God is still on the throne. You know He holds victory in store for the upright. You know what's meant for harm, He's turning to your advantage. It's barren all around you, but you're in a green pasture. You have grass in the desert. While others are complaining, talking about how it's not going to work out, you have a song of praise. You're expecting God's favor. You're declaring His promises. When I looked at my father, I didn't see green pastures. All I saw was a desert, barren land, him not feeling well. I didn't see how he could prepare a message, how he could get up and be effective. But God doesn't wait till you get out of the desert. He'll cause you to flourish in the desert. He'll make you prosperous in a barren land. What I couldn't see was in that desert, he had green grass. He had strength to do what he shouldn't be able to do. At 77, my father had to go on dialysis. His kidneys had quit working. Often I would take him to the clinic. He would sit there for 4 hours, 3 times a week. He was used to being able to travel and go places. Now he was tied down. This should have defeated him, should have taken the joy and victory out of his life. But God takes things that should be disheartening, defeating, unbearable, and He gives you the grace to keep going strong. Even though he was on dialysis, he never missed ministering on a Sunday morning. I never heard him complain. He didn't talk about how bad it was. He was constantly thanking God for His goodness. That didn't make sense. He was in the desert, on dialysis, not able to travel. But God knows how to make your hard places easier. He may not keep you out of the desert, but He will give you grass in the desert. He'll give you the grace to go through whatever comes your way. You may be up against things that seem like they're too much to handle, too difficult, too unfair. You don't have the strength, the energy, the faith. Don't worry, there's grass in that desert. God has a green pasture for wherever He takes you. Going through a divorce, yes, that's hard, but there's grass in that desert. You're going to feel strength that you've never felt. Taking that treatment, it should wipe you out. But even in the barren place, you're going to discover a green pasture. God has already prepared it for you. Or raising that special needs child. It would be too much for others, but not you. There's grass in that desert. I have a friend that was married to a professional football player, big, strong man that served in the military. Later in life, he developed diabetes and ended up losing both of his legs. This lady took care of him like a king. She would get up at 4 in the morning before she went to work and get him dressed and bathed. She's a large woman. She would pick him up out of the bed and physically carry him around the house month after month, year after year. Eventually, he went to be with the Lord. How could she have that kind of strength, that kind of stamina, that kind of commitment? That was God giving her grass in the desert. You may be doing a hard thing, but you have to know God sees you. You're not in this by yourself. He's about to lighten the load. He's going to make that hard place easier. He has grace for every season. I believe right now, strength is coming into you, fresh vision, fresh anointing. You may be tired, but you're about to get a second wind. You're going to feel God breathing in your direction, bringing dreams back to life, making things happen that you couldn't make happen. You're going to say like her, how did I make it through that difficult time? It was God giving you grass in the desert. You stepped into a green pasture that He already prepared. When I look back over my life, I can see these times where God made my hard places easier. When my father passed, I was in a desert place. I'd worked with him for years here at Lakewood, and traveled the world together. In 1999, when he had a heart attack and went to be with the Lord, that was the most difficult thing I'd ever faced. My world was turned upside down, but it wasn't what I thought. I thought I would be devastated, overwhelmed, not able to go on, but I felt a peace that I had never felt. I missed my father, but deep down I knew he'd fulfilled his purpose. My father tried for 17 years to get me up to minister, but I wouldn't do it. But now I not only knew I was supposed to, but I wanted to. What was that? God giving me grass in the desert, making my hard places easier. I didn't know how to minister. I'd never written a message before. I should have been overwhelmed, stressed out, but every week, by the grace of God, I came up with something to say. Right now, God is creating grass in your desert place. The forces that have stopped you in the past will stop you no more. God is releasing you into favor, healing, freedom, and abundance. You are strong. You are anointed, equipped, and empowered. You will flourish in the famine. You will prosper in the pandemic. You will blossom in the desert places.